The sad story of what happened to Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi continues to change.
Welcome to Plain English, the podcast that goes at the right speed for English language learners. Listen now and read the transcript online at plainenglish.com. Now, here's Jeff, your host for today's episode.
Turkey has revealed new details about the disappearance of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and they are pretty disturbing. Welcome to Plain English, episode 97 for Thursday, October 25th, 2018. I'm Jeff in Chicago. The producer of the show is JR. He's in Mexico City. As always, a transcript of the program, complete with translations of key words and phrases, can be found online. Just go to plainenglish.com/97 to read the transcript as you listen. And a quick reminder that Plain English listeners can get a free audiobook by signing up for a free trial at Audible. You can read the details of that offer by going to plainenglish.com/book. Here's how it works. Audible is a subscription service, so for $15 a month, you get one audiobook every month. But if you just want to try it out, you can sign up for a free trial and get a free audiobook to keep forever. And if you don't want to pay after all, just cancel within your month free trial and you'll get to keep your first book. They have all the Harry Potter books on there, plus a lot of new books, children's books, all kinds of audiobooks. That won't be for everyone, but if you're looking for a new challenge, that could be a good option for you. plainenglish.com/book for the details. All right, with that out of the way, now let's get going on today's main topic. Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi either left his country's consulate in Turkey alive, died inside as a result of a fistfight, or was murdered by a team of assassins from Saudi Arabia, depending on the changing and conflicting versions of the story. What's known for sure is that Khashoggi, a journalist who was critical of Saudi Arabia, went into his country's consulate for an administrative task, and he is no longer alive. This has turned into an international incident. Security footage showed Khashoggi walking into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, the capital of Turkey. There is no footage showing him coming out. For days, Saudi Arabia insisted that Khashoggi left the consulate alive, despite the fact that security footage did not show him leaving. Then, the Saudi regime abruptly changed its story, saying that the journalist died in a brawl, a fight basically, that broke out inside the embassy. Khashoggi went to his country's consulate to get a marriage license that would let him marry his fiancée. It was a tremendous risk and a fatal mistake. You see, he had become a powerful critic of the Saudi Arabian government, which does not tolerate dissent within its borders. Khashoggi had fled his native country and was a permanent resident of the United States. He had 2 million followers on Twitter and was one of the most visible critics of the Saudi regime in the Arab world. He was a frequent guest on American and British television. And now he is dead. The Saudi government's first explanation that he left the embassy alive was impossible based on security camera footage. Its latest explanation, that he died in a fight, seems implausible to many observers. Turkey says that a group of 15 men carrying Saudi diplomatic passports arrived in Turkey the same day that Khashoggi went into the consulate. They arrived in the country on a private plane, and their caravan of limos got to the consulate just before Khashoggi did. Turkish officials say the men were there to torture and kill the journalist. Turkey says that the assassins dismembered Khashoggi's body, packed it into boxes, and sped away with it in a caravan. The 15 people are now gone, and that would explain why he was seen entering, not seen leaving, and why there is no trace of him inside. His body has still not been found. There are plenty of unverified reports from newspapers and other sources coming out that paint a dark picture of what happened. Turkey's press reported that some of the 15 men who arrived at the consulate were members of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's personal security detail. If true, that would connect this murder to Saudi Arabia's leader. An American newspaper said that one of the men was a forensic expert and brought a bone saw with him to the consulate. Turkish officials say they have audio evidence showing Khashoggi's body was dismembered. Documents from the United States showed that Saudi Arabia has been trying to lure Khashoggi back within its borders for some time. They finally used the marriage license as a reason to get him to come into the consulate. If this is indeed how it happened, it would be a daring murder of a prominent international journalist. It is a sad fact of life that some governments intimidate, imprison, and even kill journalists inside their own countries. This, however, happened outside Saudi Arabia. It would also be a stain on the reputation of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He is the one behind Saudi modernization, things like allowing women to drive, bringing movies back into the country, and other changes. But the kingdom still allows absolutely no criticism and still carries out public beheadings. And now, potentially, it carried out the murder of an international journalist outside Saudi Arabia's own borders. Jamal Khashoggi was 60 years old. He took a long and complicated path to where he wound up. He rose from being the assistant manager of a bookstore chain to editing some of Saudi Arabia's largest newspapers. He was fired from 2 separate newspapers after allowing articles critical of Islam or the Saudi regime. After he was fired for the second time, he left Saudi Arabia fearing for his safety. Though he stayed in the Middle East for years, he eventually moved to the United States and began writing for the newspaper The Washington Post and appearing on television news programs as a guest analyst. The last column he wrote for the Post was called "What the Arab World Needs Most is Free Expression." That is a nasty business. I want to say thanks to a listener, Mesut from Turkey, for suggesting this story. Mesut sent me a note on Twitter saying he discovered Plain English last month and he's listening to every episode in order from the very beginning. Thanks, Mesut, for suggesting today's topic. I also want to say hi to Vanildo from the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais. He is connected with us on Twitter, and I invite you to do so as well. You can find us on Twitter with the username Plain English Pod. So once again, thanks to Vanildo from Januaria in Minas Gerais. Okay, one more today. Big hello to Tonio from Puebla, Mexico. Tonio has a really interesting business, and that is making bows and arrows for hunting and sport. That's a cool craft, though not one I know much about. I just remember trying to use a bow and arrow at summer camp when I was a kid and not coming anywhere close to hitting my target. Probably I wasn't using a high-quality artisanal bow from Puebla, so I'll blame the equipment, not the user. As I was looking back at the text of the main part of the program, I noticed 3 expressions that we've already featured on previous episodes of Plain English. Did you catch any of those? They are break out, wind up, and carry out. If you're a long-time listener and want to refresh your memory of those, or maybe you just joined us and you haven't heard them yet, I'll tell you what episode they appeared in, and you can find that episode by going to plainenglish.com/ and then putting the episode number. So Break Out appeared in episode 79 about Aretha Franklin. Carry Out was in episode 25 about Billy Graham. And Wind Up was in episode 30 about St. Patrick's Day. So Break Out in 79, Carry Out in 25, and Wind Up in episode 30. But today's phrase is a little unique. It's more of a rhetorical device than an actual expression. Earlier in the program, you heard that some unverified reports paint a dark picture about what happened to Jamal Khashoggi. Here's what that means. It means those reports are showing that what happened was pretty bad. They are painting a dark picture. They are painting a disturbing picture. They are painting a frightening picture. All those work. In English, when you want to say that a person or a report or, like in this case, a series of details, when they describe something in a certain way, you can say they are painting a picture. This is going to be one of those expressions where it's easier for me to give you a bunch of examples instead of trying to explain it too much. So here we go. China's official statistics paint an optimistic picture about its economy over the last few years. They are leading us to have an optimistic view about its economy. The Netflix series making of a murderer paints a disturbing picture of the criminal justice system. Candidates for public office often try to paint a negative picture about their opponents while painting a positive picture about themselves. Actually, as I was writing this episode, I saw an ad on TV painting a pretty negative picture about an opposing candidate. When there are conflicting versions of a story, as with the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi, it can be difficult to paint an accurate picture of what happened. It can be difficult to describe what happened in an accurate way, to paint an accurate picture. The British government is trying to paint a picture of unity, of all being in agreement as it negotiates its exit from the European Union. Though it may try to paint a picture of unity, in fact, there are many varying opinions on how Britain should negotiate its exit. Some are saying that it is painting a picture of chaos. I'll leave that to you. So I hope those examples paint a clear picture of how to use the expression paint a picture in this way. Thanks for being with us today. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find JR and me on Facebook and Twitter under the username Plain English Pod on both of those. If you prefer to email, you can send me a message to Jeff, Jeff, at plainenglish.com, or to JR. His email address is jr@plainenglish.com.